Hello everyone. Today we will be talking about contextual inquiry. When we are done with the slides, I'm going to give you more details about the first deliverable of your project. In the previous video, we talked about the UX lifecycle. And as you may remember, we talked about the 4 phases of the UX lifecycle. We start with analysis, and then we move to design, and then prototype and evaluation. In the analysis phase, there are 4 main steps. The first one is contextual inquiry, and this is what we will cover today. Next week, we are going to talk about the other steps of analysis. Also, remember that for like every rectangle you see here, like every step in the analysis, this is covered also in the textbook in a separate chapter. So contextual inquiry is covered in one chapter, contextual analysis is another chapter, and so on. Okay, so for the contextual inquiry, in itself, it has 2 main steps. The first step in contextual inquiry is to write down a system concept statement. And then in the second step, we do interviews and observations. So let's first talk about the system concept statement. This is an important step in your project. In this step, you're going to write the general idea behind your project, what exactly you want to build and why do you want to build it. You're going to use this paragraph, like it's going to be a short paragraph. Use it to communicate with the rest of your team and other stakeholders in order to make sure that everyone shares the same vision for the project. It's not an easy task, by the way, and you would like to iterate and refine this paragraph to make sure that it's clear and specific. Here is the list of questions you would like to answer and cover this information in your system concept statement. So you're going to give details such as the name of the system, who exactly you are building the system for. So you are going to talk about your target users. You're going to also specify what the system is going to do, like what problems it's trying to solve. You can here try to talk more like openly to the public about the general features that you envision in your system. Another important element to cover in your system concept statement is the emotional impact goals. What exactly do you want your system, the impact that your system is going to have on the users when they are engaged with the system. Here, we're going to give examples about the system called MUTS. This is explained in more details in the textbook. Here is just like a brief introduction about this running example, MUTS. So you assume that there is a university called Middleburg. There is no university with this name as far as I know. But let's say, like for this university, they have an existing ticket transaction service. And the goal is to create a new system that's distributed and also self-serviced. So if this is, like the existing system and you have a target system, how would you write a good system concept statement about that? Here's an example. And again, it's from the textbook. So I will let you read, the system concept statement on your own. It's also in the slides. I'm going to upload this to my courses. But I would like just to highlight here, it's a short paragraph, right? Less than 150 words. But at the same time, it covers all the different questions we talked about. So for example, here you can see the name of the system, right? You can see the target users. So, and here it's for the general public. You can see what problems it's trying to solve, what would be also the emotional impact. So for example, here it says, a focus on innovative design will enhance the MU public profile while fostering the spirit of being part of the MU community. So there is here an emphasis on the belonging feeling, right? They want the users, and the users are the general public, to have the sense of belonging in the MU community, right? So this is going to be your first step in your contextual inquiry, is to write the system concept statement. Write it down, make sure that you explain to the general audience what the system is going to do, who your users are, and what emotional impact you envision for the system. Once you're done with this step, you are ready for the next step of the contextual analysis. Excuse me, for the contextual inquiry. The next step will be to interview your users and observe them. So in the system concept statement step, you already defined who your users are going to be. So for the project, like you're going to work on folks through this summer, I asked you to work on online learning system, right? So you know that your users will be students, teachers, and we also said we could include more specifically deaf students and ASL interpreters, right? So we know that we target these users. You want then to interview them and to observe them while they are performing the tasks that are relevant to the project. So if, for example, you have a friend, a roommate, a sibling who's already taking classes online, you can observe them while they are taking the course, or like attending a class meeting. And after they are done with their session, you could then ask them questions. Something else you can do before you come up with the questions of the interview is to prepare first, and learn more about existing technologies that are similar to the system you want to build, who your competitors are. So in this case, I think your biggest competitor is going to be Zoom, right? Zoom is being used by so many schools around the world. And it already provides a lot of features, such as sharing the screen, chatting, recording the lectures, or the the meetings, the online meetings. So it has already a lot of features. You can look at the system because it's similar in its goals to what you want to do, and then check what people are saying about Zoom. You have here also the addition of the accessibility in this case, like how would you make something like Zoom more accessible? You could have maybe friends or classmates, right, who are deaf or hard of hearing, so how they deal with Zoom. And even if you don't directly know anyone, you can look on the web. So you can do your homework, search online, and I'm confident you're going to see some comments, or tweets, or maybe in groups on Reddit. People are talking about their experience with online learning. When you prepare your interview questions, now that you collected some information from, maybe your own experience, your own search on Google or on social media, you are ready then to prepare your questions. You want your questions to be diverse. So use, the 5W plus H heuristic. Ask questions about, what and why. Always think about follow-up questions. Sometimes when you conduct your interview, maybe the person is going to reply to you by saying yes or no, and then, they will end their answer at this point. You would like, in this case, to have a follow-up questions to let them explain their answer and give you more details why they answered the way they did. Yes or no can be very short, too short actually, to elicit any requirements from there, right? So another tip, for you is to maybe ask these questions to someone before you conduct the actual interview with your user. just to practice and exercise, how would you pay attention and listen to your user when you interview them, and how to come up with useful questions. You look at the answers, and if you feel you collected enough details, that means, like you're successful in your interview. At the end of the interview, if you look at the answers and you feel like, well, I can't think of any requirements or features out of these answers, so that would mean maybe you didn't ask good questions during your interview. Here are some tips about interviews and observations. You don't want it to be too long. I feel like 1 hour is really good enough. Sometimes students will finish an interview in 5 minutes. Folks, no, that you can't get enough details, enough information in 5 minutes. You want at least, like 30 to 45 minutes. I would advise do not go beyond 1 hour. That can be too much. It can be a good idea that you record your interview. In this case, you have to take permission from your user before you do any kind of recording. It's your professional responsibility to ask them to take their permission first before you record the interview session. The recording is going to be useful for you because you can re-listen, like you can take notes. It's going to make it easier for you to summarize the interview. So it's good, but again, don't do it without taking permission first from your user. Here is just like a small example for how observation can add more value to the interview. And observation, again, it means that you would first meet with the user while they are doing the task that's relevant to your project. So if you would observe someone who lives with you while they are taking an online class or in online meeting, you can observe them, and then you can ask them about, like some specific interactions they had during the session, and that these can be relevant. It can give you some ideas for the requirements of the system later on. So here in this example, we have like a university where the library in this university wanted to make sure that the researchers are backing up the data. They found that some researchers do not, and they wanted to know why. So they started by sending out a survey. They didn't get enough or good information out of this survey. So they decided on conducting contextual inquiry. This is an example part of the interview. Here is the researcher is talking about how they back up their data, and then the interviewer, because they were at the office of the researcher or like at the lab, the interviewer realized that there was a tablet, and they asked about the tablet. The researcher said, yes, I use the tablet sometimes. And then the interviewer had this follow-up question, okay, what do you do when you travel? And then the researcher gave an answer. So you see here, like how the conversation is very fluid, right? It's very active listening here from the researcher, from the interviewer, which again gives the contextual inquiry the depth that you want. Here is like some results from this contextual inquiry. What they found that researchers were using mobile devices like tablets, they use Dropbox, they use Google Docs, right? A lot of resources where they keep their data, and they did not report that, and they did not have like the good backup that the library was looking for. But now the library, they know what they need. Okay, so this is the end of the contextual inquiry part. Again, we were talking about contextual inquiry as the first step in the analysis in the UX lifecycle. And in the contextual inquiry, we're going to do two things. The first one, we are going to write down a system concept statement, and two, we are going to conduct an interview. And this is exactly what your first deliverable is going to be about. Okay, so in your first deliverable, you want to write system concept statement, and then you want to conduct an interview. I'm asking you to use a specific document where you're going to write the system concept statement and where you're going also to report on your interview. And this document is called the Design Requirements Template. You can find this document on my courses. So let me now share my browser. Okay, try again. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is our course and my courses. You're going to click on content. And then you scroll down to project information. By the way, whenever you would like to know the details of the deliverable, you can check project description. This is a document that has full description of the 9 deliverables. This is the first one. The first deliverable is due on Sunday, midnight. So you're going to use the requirements template. You're going to write the system concept statement, and you're going to document your interview and observation. So let's find this document, okay, the requirements one. So go to project information and then click on this link, interactive requirements template. The first page, it asks you to put the title of your system here. So come up with a name for your system, the version and the date. This is a living document. We are going to use this document several times through the semester. So every time you're going to fill part or add part, you're going to update the version number of your document. And here is your revision history. So whenever you make an update, you're going to record it here, what exactly you added this time. You will see it has several sections. It has 9 sections, right? For our first deliverable, we are going to fill the first 2 sections, the system concept and the interview/observation notes. You're going to remove this part, everything between 2 brackets, it's FYI, and when you submit, you just remove these instructions and write down like the details of the section. So here you're going to put your paragraph where you're going to cover details such as the name of your system, the users you are building the system for, what the system is going to do, and what emotional impact you're looking for. Okay, and then in the second part here, you're going to write down first the questions that you plan on asking. So you're going to write down maybe, like maybe 8 to 10 questions, and they have to be meaningful questions. So think twice, about every question you put here. Try to iterate, try to make sure that the answer, like imagine yourself asking this question to someone and what answer they can come up with. Then ask yourself if this answer is going to be helpful for you to extract requirements out of these answers later on. If not, that means you want to revise this question, rewrite it. When you're done writing all the questions here, you would be ready to interview the users, and you have a whole week. So it's Monday and you have till Sunday. Find 2 people, ask them these questions. If you want to record, like audio record the interview, make sure you're going to ask for their permission. If they are fine with it, this will be great. If not, you will have to write down while they are talking to you. And then you're going to put here all the raw data. So for the answers you're going to collect from your 2 users, you're just going to place the answers here. Do not do any form of like rewording. Do not try to summarize the interview, the answers you get from the interview. I want the answers in their raw format. So don't Don't try to summarize them. Okay, don't reward. Put the answers here. I want to show you an example from a previous team and how they conducted, like the first deliverable. So let's go with the share screen again. Okay. So this is a submission from last semester. Here the team started by writing the system concept statement. Again, it's a short paragraph. It has, the answers to the questions we talked about, what this system is going to do, the emotional impact it's going to have, and which users you are targeting by the system. Okay. And then here's the second section. They list all the questions they wanted to ask. And then here they put the answers. With every bullet here, there was a user, so they asked 4 users. In your case, I'm asking you to find just 2 users, not 4, just 2. And they put the answers. And you see there is a variation actually in the quality of the interview, right? So sometimes it's very short. Like this interview, it's very, very short. And for this interview, they got really good feedback. But the main point here, I would like you to put the answers by the answers that you got from your users, just like they were said. Okay, and that will be the end of the first deliverable number 1. When you're done, you're going to submit this to the assignment folder. Go back to my courses. Here is your first deliverable, contextual inquiry, and this is the due date. So please submit by this day. If you have any questions about the deliverable, about any of the content we covered this week, feel free to contact me. Okay, thank you.